Giving thanks and honor to my Heavenly Father, the Father of all fathers. Welcome to One Black Man Talk. I'm Mark Elliott. I have to say this before we start. I'm not inside the loft this morning, Elliott's loft, actually, probably because I'm on Elliott's deck. You can hear some noise outside. There's a plane going by. At some point, you hear some birds, but I wanted to kind of be in nature for this show, kind of sit outside and get a different feel. So I'm never one to freak out when background noise and stuff that happens. So this is what we do. I know a lot of people say, keep it quiet, whatever. Nah, we do our own thing. We tread our own journey. Gentlemen, I'm going to give you two a chance to give thanks before we kind of really get things moving this morning. Good morning, Mr. Charles. Your chance to give thanks, my brother.
Yeah, just giving thanks, man, to the Creator for providing insight in very difficult situations. A lot's been going on with me a couple last week or two, man. Frustrated with things that I've been called to do. But when you have the insight, man, on how the Lord works and guides you, and you've been trusting for so long, He pulls you through, man. He pulls you through it. And I am so humbly grateful for that and always will be because no matter what we had to go through or deal with, he shows us the light and shows us the way to get through and comfort us at the same time, no matter what we have to deal with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good morning, Mr. DeMaurice.
Hey, good day, fellas. I got to go with the creator too because never ceases to amaze me how the creator puts opportunity after opportunity after opportunity in front of you. Knowing that once you take on this opportunity, it opens up other things that you need to look at, and also it guides you in different directions and different relationships and meeting certain people that will get you closer to what you prayed for in the first place. And you don't even know it at the time. You're just thinking that, oh man, there's something else for me to do, blah, 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 blah. But they put you, he constantly put you in positions that you don't understand at the time. But if you just keep moving forward, as my mom used to say all the time when I wanted to quit school a long time ago, she was like, just keep moving forward. You're going to see all the stuff that I see right now. You just got to keep moving forward. And I know it's going to be tough, but just keep moving forward.
Good stuff, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Not surprised, man. We always give thanks, and we're not ashamed to do so. We should never be ashamed to do so. I wanted to do something here, man, to kind of throw a little curveball. I think we kind of I laid out a foundation of something I was going to talk about earlier. And I decided, nah, I want to switch things up a little bit, man. And, sometimes in life, that's what happens. It's not always a fastball. It's not a slow pitch. Sometimes it's a curveball, and you got to watch where the ball moves and go with it. And I was listening to this show the other day. I can't remember what it was, but this lady was up there. Actually, I had her on the background on television. And this lady said she found love in an era where men are doing podcasts talking about women and this and that and blah blah blah, speaking negatively about women and moving on with other type of women with the passport bros. And I chuckled. I chuckled at first, and I'm laughing. And I started to give it some thought, and I said, realistically, I thought about when we started this. And when we started this, and we've been true to what we started, our purpose here has always been an honest self evaluation, talk about love, relationships, and different factors of life. And we never took on the sense of bashing. And I can't speak for what other podcasters are doing. And they kind of made it seem like a lot of these podcasts got started during the pandemic. Now, we were started long before then. And realistically, what I found to be interesting, excuse me, is that what women are coming to realize is that men are speaking out. Yeah, and they're speaking out over the airways and certain things. And the reason why there's a popularity, because I remember there was a comedian that said something about brothers doing podcasts too. Reason why our shows are popular because we say what needs to be said. We don't basically run from the truth. And the reality is, I think a lot of times women have a problem dealing with the truth. So you're used to brothers basically dumbing down, being emasculated, and just kind of rolling with it, where you're finding now a lot of cats aren't doing that anymore. So I'm going to roll this question to you first, Mr. DeMaurice, because what they've always believed is that pretty is enough. But what they're finding out, pretty is not enough anymore. Your thoughts, my brother.
Yeah, I think what the podcast and what shows started to do, because we would talk about this stuff as far as men in little pockets areas and barbershops, when we're together, you know. But when you got the podcast, I mean, we've been doing this for a number of years. It really exposed the games that women have been playing all these years. It wasn't where we were just talking in pockets and in silos anymore. We were, talking to other men, and other men started gravitated towards because they said, you know what, that happened to me too. That happened to me too. Yeah, I'm going through the same thing. We think sometimes when we're going through things that we're the only one going through it, and we don't talk to other brothers. We don't. We don't because we're embarrassed. We feel ashamed, things of that sort. But when we start getting on podcasts, like, yeah, they're doing this, and it's not this the phenomenon that's just happening to you, then other men started speaking out about it, and then women went in denial. Oh, I don't do that. I don't act like that. And that's why I love this other movement that's going on, where a brother was like, he's in his soft guy era, and he's flipping the switch, and he's acting exactly like the women are acting when we come towards him, and women are looking at it like that. Oh, no, I don't do that. I don't do that. We just flipping the same thing that you just said. And now you see how stupid it sounds and how stupid you look. Now you in denial of that. Because we're just taking your script and just running it by you. So it exposed a lot of women. It exposed the game women been playing for years. That's why guys are opting out of just dating anymore. It's like, nah, I'm done with the games. I'm done with the little routine. I'm done with the kabuki dance. I'm just gonna let you stand on your own. I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna spend my money on me, and let's see you figure this out. It also, got teamed up with the feminist movement, which I will say, the feminist movement, women of color, it doesn't represent you. You're being used by that. It doesn't represent you, and it messed you all up because it taught you how to hate your men. Now you're wondering why your men are gone.
Oh, a lot said right there. A lot said. I'm gonna say this too about what we have done over the years, man, which I'm very proud of, because I know when I said this to you, Shelman, at first, is that I wanted us to do something where we're naked in a sense to where we're open. We're not holding things back. We're going to be vulnerable. We're going to say some things that, like Mr. DeMarie said, kind of, we might have been saying to ourselves, but now we're going to actually put it out there. And I know for the reason of that this show has grown and other podcasts have grown is because men being vulnerable, other men basically click with that and realize, you know what, like Mr. Reese said, I've been there, I've dealt with that, I'm dealing with that now. And there's a sense of brotherhood, and that's powerful. That's
Yeah.
very powerful. And I know when I first came to these two gentlemen, not talking about being naked, I know they looked at me a certain way. And in the beginning, when I kind of pushed the things a little bit, look kind of strong on a personal sense, it took a little while for us to kind of really get comfortable and get there. But then when we got there, we got there. And we've been riding strong. So we hold no apologies. None.
And
No
folks, we don't
apologies.
we ain't looking at each other. I know I'm naked in Chicago. I don't know what these other two are doing. When I do these shows naked.
that's
Hello.
why that's why we don't do video, brother. That's why we don't do video. That's why we stay right here with the audio. We don't do video, damn it. That's why we don't do it. We may not do it no time soon. But
Clarification.
Mr. Charles, I wanted to bring you in on this, man, because realistically, I find it to be amusing. I do, because in reality, there's something to be said about owning up to the truth. There's something genuine, and there's a lot of growth in it. And for more times than none, they rather run from it. I remember I saw a video not too long ago. A lady said, when you bring your truth to a woman, she started acting like she's in the that's that movie, The Matrix. She starts moving this way, going all like moving like, and it's like I cracked it, but she's right. They won't take the truth, so they rather bash out what we're doing instead of looking at it, maybe learning from it. But your thoughts, Mr. Charles?
Yeah, the truth is a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And I got clothes on. Okay, just for y'all to see. You know what? I'm naked in another sense of way. I'm giving you the truth, but I'm not like all natural like my one brother over there. on lake shores in Chicago, right? You know, but the truth will set you free, but truth will also make you run.
Yep.
And what I mean by that, for a lot of times with certain people, they don't want to hear the truth because it exposes them, right? It pulls back the layers and the mask of what you've been doing for a long time and perpetrating, and it also shows who you are. And sometimes we don't like people to know who we really are, what we do when nobody else is watching, or what we struggle with. And that's what the truth does. So when these shows come up and we share our truth, and people go, "Are you? I would have never shared that. That happened to you? Oh my God! How did you survive? I would never have shared that." But then when we're asked to do it, that means as a person, you stand on your own, and you know who you are, and you're comfortable with it. And if that means you have to break it down and explain to people about what happened and why, because they have not had the experience or don't understand, you still stand on it because whatever it is, the experience in itself, I think. Has helped you become the person that you are today. And that struggle is real. And we may not understand it. We may not say, "Well, damn, that never happened to me." But I can respect it because you were passionate enough and a person enough to share with us what it was you went through. So instead of judging you, I'm going to look and go, wow, okay, that's different from me. And maybe I'll learn something from what you share, but most people don't want to do that. We want to sit on a pedestal and be seen as that wonderful, perfect representative. And for a lot of women, it's that way too, because now when we see their flaws or who they are and why they are who they are, the reason why they are the person that they are today, it just makes them very uncomfortable.
Think about this for a second, gentlemen. For years, man, think about this. The Oprah revolution wasn't about us. The birth of Oprah, her show, her where she grew to the millions that watched, it weren't about us. It was really about women, what they've gone through, who they are, what they're dealing with. And a lot of it, when I stand back and look, even when I paid attention, they weren't speaking truth. They were speaking how to cope. It's not your fault. Da 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 this, da 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 that, da da da. And of course, pointing fingers at us. Let's be honest. And I'm not saying men overall haven't done some wrongful things, and we have, and generations of men in general have done some things. But one man cannot basically carry the load, should be responsible for what other men do. So you basically do what men done or what a man do as an individual. But what I found to be interesting with all that, when all that grew and was real popular, sometimes now you still can't speak negative about Oprah because to them, Oprah brought them to the light. Oprah took therapy from 0 to 3,000, and they still ain't good. You got some women out there that have been to therapy 1,000 times and still just as dunce as they were the first time they walked through the door. With that being said, I want to say this. I find it to be, when I said about us being naked, and to me, and this may sound like it's off the rail, but I'll say it anyway. A lot of times when you're getting up on a daily basis and you're afraid to go out the house and you got to put the eyeliner on, you got to put this on, you got to put that on because you're afraid for people to see you who you are. And see, the thing about us as men, nah, we clean up, we go out, either you accept it or you don't. And that's where a lot of that fakeness starts. You're selling something that who you're not. And you can say to yourself, you're beautiful, you're beautified. A lot of y'all can't leave the home unless you got all that on. You don't feel comfortable. You're not natural. Maybe if you start there, go back and be natural to who you are and realize it starts from there. Stop selling something that you're not. Because you can paint a car all different days. At the end of the day, a car is still a car. Different colors, still a car. And what I'm really saying is that you could throw all that makeup on, all the fake hair, the wigs, all that stuff. If you ain't done a damn thing about your character and your character still stinks, your character stinks. It doesn't prove that. It doesn't improve that. So when you come across a man that you're trying to be with, when he starts to look beyond the makeup, the hair, the nails, and he realizes who you are and he doesn't want to spend time with you, I damn sure don't want to marry you. then we're going to lead into something else that women are doing. But I wanted to throw another question back at you, Mr. Charles, before we get there. That's going to be interesting to say the least, because I'm wondering, in a sense, women in general, can they really accept and are they capable of doing an honest self evaluation, sir?
I'll say some women, but I think it just depends on what they've been through, how they've been real. Maybe it's therapy that they understand. They're talking to somebody or whatever. I think it depends on the individual. Probably most, like probably with some men as well, have are not able to. You know, they're not able to do that. So depends on your relationship and who you are and what you've been through. So I say a lot of them no, because I think part of it when you come to grips, sometimes we receive what we've been taught, right? Sometimes it's kind of like anything else. Sometimes the things that you've been taught, you accept it because that was whoever your parent, your guardian, whatever, that's what they gave you. But then as you get older, you realize what they were saying maybe wasn't your truth, and maybe it wasn't exactly what you needed. But you got to admit stuff like that, and that's when you have to come full circle to be honest, as you mentioned, to get to the point what we're discussing today.
Very good point there, Mr. Charles. Because a lot of us are still stuck on what grandmama said, what auntie said, what mama said, this and that, and they're afraid to move beyond that. Never question it, never evaluated it, whatever it was. And what they don't realize is that mama, grandmama, auntie, this one, Aunt Doris down the street, whatever, sometimes they were lying to y'all. When I say lying, meaning that they were saying some things how they wanted things to be for themselves. They weren't even living in that truth. So you do have to kind of basically, and we did this as men. We do this as men. Some of us. I'm not going to say all of us. So when I speak, don't act like I'm speaking for everyone. But you really, like Mr. Charles says, you have to go back and do a reevaluation and understand some of it applies, some of it doesn't. And this doesn't mean that they were trying to do harm by maybe saying something to you that wasn't true. What they were saying to you, what they might have been doing was the best they can do. See it for that, as opposed to acting like it's the bona fide truth and trying to live by and failing, consistently failing. Your response, Mr. DeMaurice, because, you know, as I said earlier, man, and you know, the word naked is what it is. But to me, that's an honest self evaluation. And you don't have to be on a show to do that. Our podcast do that, but that's what I always wanted us to do. But I wonder, you know, Mr. Charles says some and some may not. And since we're talking about women, I'm opposed towards women because I believe men should be doing it all the time. I mean, if you're looking for growth as a man, that's what you always should be doing a self evaluating. And basically, you said something earlier, Mr. Reese, I found to be, we were joking before the show started. And you said, we are all of our interventions, meaning that if something is going wrong with Mr. DeMaurice, I'm going to come to him and pull his coattail. Bro, what you're doing incorrect. Same thing, Mr. Charles. If something's going on, and they know they could do the same with myself. So my point is, in asking this, Mr. DeMaurice, to be able to do that, you got to be able to be honest with yourself. So there goes the question with women: can they honestly, are they capable of honestly doing a self-evaluation, sir?
I think maybe if you can, but it takes a lot of growth to do that and self realization to do that. But some women lie to themselves; they lie to other women. How many times you seen a group of women together and you overhear like, "Girl, how I look? Oh, girl, you look fine. You know damn well that girl ain't right." And you let her go out there and embarrass herself in order to talk about her later. Like, you see what she was wearing, blah 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 blah. And then these BBLs, all the stuff that women are doing, and it's like, what are you doing? If you just come natural and be yourself, I mean, you'll be all right. But I said this on the show a long time ago, and I don't know if I got in trouble. I know people really respond to Mark and say things about the show, and they're probably like, well, who made him mad and who broke his heart and all that other stuff. No, nobody will do that, sweetheart. We good. We're splat. We're splat, as the little young Brooklyn kid said. But some women are beautiful. Some women are great artists. And so they fool you with that makeup. I told my son last year when he was trying to date, he was doing the dating scene, and I'm like, man, you need to get a pass to the YMCA somewhere where they got a swimming pool. So if you go on your first date, go swimming, because that woman is probably don't look the way she looked when you saw her in the club and all made up and all that other stuff. All that water chlorine washes that stuff off. And he's like, "Pop, you crazy?" He's thinking I'm joking all this time. I think he think I'm the funniest person alive because he think I'm joking about some of this stuff. And then he experiences and go, "Yeah, you did say that." And I'm like, "I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to give you a game." But they fool themselves. I saw a young lady that I know and have known for years, and I'm like, she's putting up pretty pictures on that stuff, and I'm like, oh no, I know that's not a BBL. I know you're too young for that. You're roll with what you got. If you ain't got it, you can't you can't worry about it. But it's like the BBLs, the big old eyelashes. I mean, why? 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 Just be yourself. Be yourself. And if a person doesn't want you or doesn't look at you for just being yourself, you don't need to be with that person because basically you're putting up a facade. That person is responding to that facade, but they never get to know the true you. And then when you're trying to be the true you, they're looking at you like, okay, why have you changed? Because you haven't been yourself in the get-go, trying to get something, trying to achieve something that you think you want, but when you get it, you don't know how to deal with it. So be yourself. The best advice my father ever gave me is like, man, you just got to be yourself. You can't worry about what people think, how they feel, all that other stuff. That's out of your control. Just be you. Be yourself. I said it on the sports show last week. Be who you are. Be who you are, and go find your people and go be happy. Quit trying to fake it through this life. Fake it till you make it. A lot of women do that, and they say that I'm just gonna fake it till I make it. That ain't the path to go through. Be yourself, and if a person can't appreciate you for yourself, don't need them in your life.
Control what you can control. There it is, man. Control what you can control. Gentlemen, I'm going to say something, man, that I know at some point in our life we heard this as men, and we probably felt a certain way. I remember years ago, my aunt, my aunt Ruby, who's 91 now, God bless her. And it was years ago. I was in my 20s. And she said, Mark, I have someone I want you to meet. I said, okay. She said, she has a good personality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, you hear that word good personality, you're thinking, okay, she must look like Rover or somebody like that. She must not be very attractive. And ironically, the woman did have a good personality and she was attractive. And I say that to say this because I think a lot of times as men, we have overlooked good personalities initially. We have looked for the splash. And just the reaction of hearing that when somebody says something about somebody, a good personality, we'll automatically assume when we're younger, and some of us might be still doing this as we walk the face of the earth now, Mr. DeMaurice. We assume that they're not attractive. But in reality, when my aunt was saying to me, Mark, she has a good personality, that's what she wanted me to see and link with. And, the rest of the stuff can come later. And, I was in my 20s. So when she said it, of course, my first reaction to it was like, hmm. But knowing my auntie, realizing that she's not going to put me with someone that's just all about glitz and glamour. She's not going to advise me to meet someone. It's going to be someone of good nature, someone of good character, someone of good morals. And those three factors right there, a lot of time as men, we may overlook that. Get your response at me, Demery, because I'm sure you heard in situations where somebody was saying something about somebody and they let off with, yeah, she got a good personality.
Yeah, you
And you
can't. You
kind of
can't.
felt a certain way.
You can't lead off with that. You just can't. You gotta say she is beautiful with a good personality. Now that's a good lead off because we're visual. We're
Oh,
visual as men. But when you lead off, usually 9 times out of 10, when you lead off, oh, she has a great personality. Oh, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be real bad. So women can't lead off with great personality because that gives off a signal that you're trying to hide the truth at some particular point and trying to kind of boost up the personality so we forget how she looked. But we're visual creatures, and if we sometimes we can't get past that. But I understand what I was trying to do, but I wouldn't suggest women lead off with that if they're trying to hook somebody up with you, that she has a good personality, because the way we think, and we're it's almost like I'm gonna give you good news first, and then I'll give you the bad news. You'll figure out the bad news later. So if you start off, I would prefer you start off. She's beautiful with a great personality. That will spark the interest and get past that. Okay, maybe she is a looker. Maybe I would be attracted physically because again, we as men, we are who we are. Physical attraction is a big deal for us.
Okay. I want to come back with a question for you, Mr. Maurice. And Mr. Charles should get the same question. And all of that is great and it's true. It's real true, man. And this is what I'm wondering. I've always kind of felt about men, in a sense where, with us being visual, have that been a deterrent for us in our life? A detriment, I should say. Because we are visual. We are visual creatures, and we're visual creatures for the moment. I think, I don't think I know. Men have turned that into being a sense of a visual creature to basically seek and hunt for sex. In reality, we're supposed to seek, hunt to basically produce, which is part of sex. So it's like one off the other. But I'm wondering, to our detriment, us being a visual creature, because we talked about women and them not, kind of being honest and doing a self evaluation. Let's pull this to us for a moment, because I think as men, this is my personal opinion, it's been a detriment to us to be such visual creatures. Your thought, Mr. Demarice?
Yeah, I think because we get blinded by the beauty sometimes that we forget we can't see all the other flaws or other the different problems that come with all that beauty. So sometimes I remember Reverend Jeremiah Wright said this a long time ago. He said, "Man, there's some beautiful mansions. You ride around town, there's some beautiful mansions. But once you cross that threshold, you don't know what you're getting. You may be getting crazy. You may be getting a whole lot of issues that you can't deal with or you don't want to deal with." But yeah, I mean, they fix up the front yard real good. The drapes look outside. Oh man, this house is immaculate. This is a mansion here. I think I could live here. And you step through the door and go, wait a minute, wait 1 minute. So yeah, I think sometimes we can get deceived, and that's why sometimes I think that's why these women are doing some of these things that they say they're not attracted, trying to attract men, but they're doing a lot of this stuff to attract a certain caliber of man or high value man, and then they come with all this baggage and problems, thinking that my beauty will be enough for them to overlook some of the barriers or some of the negative traits or characteristics I have.
Well, pretty's not enough. There it is. Mr. Charles, 2 point question to you, sir. Basically, have our visualness as men been a detriment to us? And then again, when you hear that initially about someone that you might, have interest in or might be meeting, when they start off with, they have a good personality, your reaction to it, sir.
Yeah, I think it has been detrimental to a lot of men because, as DeMaurice mentioned, we are very visual, and then you go, oh man, it's like, well, wait a minute, you see us like, man, she is gorgeous, and like, oh my God, and we're so visual, and you're young, like, man, I don't want me as a fine sister on my arm, fine woman on my arm. We gonna have fun and walk the walk when we date, and she's so beautiful, and everything gonna be wonderful. And then as you get older, you start realizing sometimes, and I don't know about y'all, but tell me this: how many times have you heard this, or you thought about it as you get older, even from 20s on, when you really learn the lessons that you said to yourself? You say, "Well, man, she's gorgeous." You see her picture or whatever, and then you're like, "Well, how old is she?" She's like, "Okay, whatever." And she's single. How long she been single? Blah blah blah. And then she go, "Man, she fine." As I say, Detroit wine. But you think, and you stop for a minute. You go, "I bet she batshit crazy." Something wrong. Why is she so beautiful after all this time? And, and somebody, and you ain't with somebody? You been alone that long? Something wrong. Something wrong. It don't, and she get that little look in her eye. You like, yeah, she bad shit crazy. Bad shit crazy. Anyway, but I digress. On the other level, the second part of the question. Yeah, when you hear that initially from grandmama and them and auntie and them, yeah, baby, she got a great personality. And like Dee Marie said, the next thing you think gonna come out of their mouth is, and she been on the job a long time. She got good credit, and she's a church
She got
going
her
woman,
own
and
house.
Oh,
yeah,
church going. There it
Yeah,
is. There it
and she
is.
and she look, she'll cook every Sunday for you.
mm-hmm,
She
mm-hmm.
she makes sure that she pampers you. She know how to take care of a man. All that you like, well, damn.
Well, how she look?
Yeah, that's it, my. Well, you remember that time Miss Esmeralda came from Delaware, right? She was kind of light
Oh.
skinned, and then she go out to this whole tangent. Like, why she look? Oh, she good, she good. Never
Yeah,
said she's beautiful, she's
yeah, yeah,
very
yeah, 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 yeah,
attractive or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Then she go, she alright. You
yeah.
what?
She all right.
Yeah, man. But it takes a whole different tone. But yeah, at least I think for us men, particularly at this point, but even before for me, I mean, the woman doesn't have to be the drop dead gorgeous, but if she's attractive, if she's pretty, she's beautiful. Because I think women have their own. I've always said this, I learned from my dad. Women all have their own special qualities, right? That's why that makes them individual, beautifully individual. So I might like individually. So I may not like one thing about one. I might like one thing on one woman, but I might like something else about this woman because I was like, oh wow, look at her eyes, whatever. But I think they're all beautifully individually, and I think that's what a lot of women and men get caught up on, seeing somebody for their own personal beauty. But also too, if a person may not be the most attractive person in the world, let's say that. And maybe down the line, I might start to really connect with you down the line after I get to know you. But at least give me some damn warning. Don't surprise me, like I said, last point on this. When you look up to the standpoint you have somebody you connected with or y'all dating or whatever, and you see a woman from the club, whatever, and you go, hey, oh, there's Mary. Okay, what's up, Mary? And then you might meet Mary 2 days later, and then she goes, hello, how you doing? What's going on? How you doing? You go, excuse me, can I help you? And she go, it's Mary. Who? It's Mary. She got a totally different look. You're like, I didn't even recognize you. Who the hell? Are you sure? What's your name? Let me see your ID. Because it's somebody totally
Oh
different.
man.
You're looking like, wow, what was the transformation? It's like, nah, this is my Wednesday look. Well, put that
Mm.
Saturday look back on because I don't know who the hell you are. I don't even recognize you on Wednesday.
Hey, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Let me share this story real quick. I used to
Take
date
your
this.
time, man. Take your time.
I used to date this woman years ago. Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, just beautiful, gorgeous, knockdown, gorgeous lady. And she was telling me this story about one of her exes. The mother was telling one of the exes, her son, that she called her nickname for her was the apple, and she was kind of referencing the Adam and Eve apple, but she was saying how she's beautiful on the outside, nice and shiny, but she said, I think this young lady is rotten to the core. And boy, did I find out what that mama saw. And I even wrote a poem about it years ago called The Apple. And it was like, she told me this story for a reason. And, beautiful mansion, just like I mentioned earlier, beautiful mansion. I mean, everything you would want as far as physically in a woman, but so many traumas, so much stuff that was going on that just ruined the present relationship. It was so many things going on with this chick, and other people had seen it and told her about it. And she would share it with me, and she used to always ask me. I never forget it. And I'm crazy, right? And I'm like, okay, okay. So you don't really know how to take that with somebody. It's like, yeah, I'm a little crazy. I'm like, okay, okay.
Oh
But
man.
when people tell you and people show you, believe them, because that
Run,
that
Forrest,
mom,
run.
yeah, that mom said, that's the apple. That was her nickname for her, the apple, because she was referencing Adam and Eve, and also that you take a bite of that apple, your life is never going to be the same. It's going to be ruined, and it is rotten to the core. And I found out firsthand why that one. And I said one day, I'm like, oh, the apple. And she kind of looked at me, kind of, with the sharp eyes, and I'm like, yeah, you told me the story, so you must have told me for a reason. And now I'm starting to see what this woman means.
It's interesting. I was listening to Mr. Charles, and this came to my mind because I've heard this numerous times, man. Have you ever been in a situation where a woman says to you, "I don't understand what he sees in her.
Mm-hmm.
She's not pretty. She's not this. And a lot of times I go quiet. I don't even say anything because I don't believe they're open minded enough to hear it because that man is with her. He loves her beyond her beauty, her looks. He's found something inside of her that resonates with his heart, that he cares for. And that's part of it because we all sometimes base so much on looks. And it's like, he's looked beyond that. Same thing with a woman with a guy. Sometimes we think he may not be that attractive. It's like, we start to assume, being for whatever the case may be. No, they found someone their heart connects with, that they can love. There's some qualities that they resonate with that you probably know nothing about because you've been running around thinking your prettiness is enough. Are you loving this episode? Have you ever thought about creating your own episode? Like having your own podcast? What are you waiting for? Get started at podup.com. We're one of the sponsors of this podcast. We would love to someday sponsor yours. Starting as easy as creating an account at podup.com today. Podup literally has everything you need to run a full professional show. Podup has over 35 different tools with AI integration to further help you succeed. Create a free starter account or get a paid account for 50% off with the code when Black Men Talk 15. So check out Pod Up if you want a podcast that's done for you. Where an agency would do all your website, social media, and editing work. Check out podallies.com. Pod Allies is an agency run by the folks that literally built the Pod Up podcasting software. Get started with them at podallies.com. Get 15% off when you sign up today at Pod Up or Pod Allies with code when Black Men Talk 15. We can't wait to create with you and launch your podcast. Gentlemen, there's a phenomenon going on with women these days, man, that I want to bring our attention to. And when I first came across this and I saw this, I thought of the Passport Bros a little bit. And I say it's the same thing, but it's a little different. It could be part of the reason why it's going on. I call it sologamy. Sologram. It's a marriage when a person sologamy. It's a marriage by a person to themselves. Think about that for a second. It's a marriage by a person to themselves. In other words, you stand up and you get married to you. This has been on the rise by a lot of women across the world, the globe. It's not just something that's happening here in America. Many different ages 72, 35, 40, 50, 60. They're basically throwing themselves lavish. I don't mean justice of the peace, I'm talking lavish weddings. And some say it's basically due to isolation of the pandemic. I don't believe that. But what they're calling this, or what they're saying is behind this, Mr. Charles, it's a deeper push for self love. Your reaction to it, sir?
Salami, who? Let me stop. I'm sorry. I did
Uncle
not mean.
Charles. Be nice, Uncle Charles.
I'm gonna tell you, boy. I'm gonna tell you something right. I'm gonna tell you something right there, boy. Back in my day. Anyway, let me stop. I
No,
promise.
man, please continue. Please continue.
Look,
Don't
look, look.
stop. Go, man, go.
Back in my day, boy, a man knew who he was, and a woman was trying to figure it out. But now we just say this type of things that nah, I'm on the real tip. I mean, hey, somebody might really be dealing with that, and I'm cool. But I just had a moment because I'm on medication. I told you that I'm on medication, so you have to excuse me. But the part that really drives home, I know for me is well, I want to kind of, I did make a joke, but I also want to kind of maybe if I want to really critique it, the sadness of it is the one thing that you said near the ear, Mark, is the fact that a person is that desperate for self love that they would marry themselves. That says a lot because that means there's an issue with you internally and has been that way for a while. And usually you would hope that you would be able to correct that at some point as you transform from being a young person over into an adult. At some point in your life, you start to understand that you really have to love yourself first before you can love anybody else. And if you're struggling that into your hell 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, this says a lot because now you have missed on a lot of great things connecting with other people because you didn't have enough love for you. And that can be very sorrowful, can be very hurtful because you don't love yourself enough to give yourself credit. And how can you even move forward in life? Because that means you don't love yourself enough. You don't believe in you sometimes. Therefore, other people can be more influential and can be damaging because you go off what other people think or what people say about you. That's the sad part. I learned. I heard about it, and if it is happening, hey, you got to do what you got to do to keep it moving and move through life. But one would hope that at some point these people would really understand what they need to get themselves right. If nothing else, to love themselves.
Well said, Mr. Charles. Really, man. I love all of that, and it's really it comes to the foundation of that. I just don't see where doing a marriage deepens self love for you. I think if anything, it deepens more of the sorrow, the sadness. I mean, you can dress up and look pretty, but I think for a lot of women that are doing this, they're saying self love, but that's not what it is. I'm not saying all, but some of them realistically realize they haven't been chosen. That no man has basically looked at who you are as a woman and decided, I want to make you my wife. So sometimes you can hide under umbrella and let certain things not hit you, but sometimes rain still finds a way to come past the umbrella. It drops on the ground, it splatters you. And I think a part of that is that they basically have come to terms that I'm by myself. I mean, someone may never find me and desire me to be their wife. So I'm going to take this move. And I get self love. I think, we all should have it. We should all fight to grow it. But to me, self love starts with your relationship you have with God. Not standing at an altar by yourself, getting dressed up, throwing a lavish wedding. Check your relationship with the Maker, our Father. Work on that. Because once you get married to yourself, you say, I do, you still come back home to the same person. You still come back home to the same things you felt before you had the lavish wedding. None of that's changed. It's still present. So you think standing there and everybody looks at you and they support you, that's going to make you feel better days, years beyond. I'm not buying that. Your reaction to it, Mr. DeMaurice?
When you sent me this video, bro, I started laughing because this is not the first time I heard about this. But it's a video that Mark sent about this woman who wanted to marry herself. I guess she went through going through therapy. If you're a therapist and you co-signing this, you need to be your license revoked because you co-signing the craziness. And so she's got to the point, and I think women who get to this point, they're gonna marry themselves. That nobody wants you. Nobody wants you. And her son was sitting there. And at one point, you were in a relationship where her ex got to be sitting back laughing, saying, I wonder how long this going to last because it didn't last with him and her. So, and she's messing up her son. She got her mother there who, oh, I feel through the stones of what you felt. So, yeah, this is the dress for you and all this. You just co-signing the crazy. You co-signing the crazy. And it's a lack of accountability. You won't account for the lack of what you're bringing to a relationship, what you're doing, why you're destroying relationship. I give it 5 years, or you'll be divorcing herself because now who you have to blame but yourself? You married yourself. You can't blame nobody else. Who you gonna argue with? Who you gonna have disagreements with? All the things that women like to do in relationships, you got to do to yourself. So I think I give it less than 5 years, the over and under, where she's gonna put this idea down that I'm married to myself, all this other stuff, or she'll see somebody and take a liking to them. You're gonna cheat on yourself, so you're gonna cheat with another relationship outside the marriage you made. You need to get some help. You need to get some serious help. But with the passport bros, I don't need you. I'm an independent woman. I can do it by yourself. And then when you find yourself by yourself, now you're sitting there like, I'm going to marry myself. You're just doing this to show out. You're trying to fit in society that you got to be married. And so nobody wants you. Nobody's going to deal with the craziness. Nobody's going to deal with you because people should be dealt with. Okay, how you going to deal with me? Nah, when you get to a point where, you want somebody to deal with you, you're probably hard to be around. So I give this like within 5 years, it's like, why would somebody, not stop me from doing this and blah, 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 spending all this money to, try to fill some void that you created. You created this void by a lack of accountability, and really dealing with the issues on why people don't want to be around you. Instead of dealing with that, you come up with this fairy tale fantasy that you're gonna marry yourself and you're gonna live happily ever after. Good luck with that.